Anxious to get into this abbreviated conversation we're doing now. We're going to put in some footage, but welcome very much to Conversation. Pleasure to welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Susan McIntosh. She's a comedian, actress. She's also a professor. And she is an actress extraordinaire, I would say, a force of nature, I would say.
Well, you are too. I've actually included something in the program today, which we cut of you as an actor last Saturday. You were hilarious.
She and Albert, our producers here. Welcome, Susan, very much. Fill us in. We're going to have to do an abbreviated piece here. We're going to edit with some footage. But could you share your own background, please?
I was born and raised in San Francisco and had the pleasure and benefit of growing up in the time period of the 80s and having the experience of really what the Bay Area was about, which in many ways I think is a very radical and interesting place. I mean,
very
San Francisco is an extraordinary place, and you had to be asleep if you weren't aware of the tensions and the extraordinary experience happening. I mean, I went to school with children of Panthers. I went to school with China Cantor's daughter, China Cantor, Larry Slick's daughter. I knew kids that hung out with the dead every other weekend. I mean, the history, the cultural soup of San Francisco is just an extraordinary experience. And my father's Australian, and my mother's from the South, so I had the benefit of a colonial education as well, to voracious readers, and the old world and the new world. I'm very, very fortunate. I went to school at Berkeley, which gave me a radical, wonderful education.
UC Berkeley?
UC Berkeley.
Great school.
Great school. Great school. The history of the civil rights.
Absolutely.
Student activism is there, and had an extraordinary experience being opened up to many, many worldviews that were different.
Studied literature, did you not?
I studied Irish literature.
Irish literature,
Dead Irish poets. Ulysses was my major. I was really into Joyce.
Oh, really?
And the idea of the collective unconsciousness, which I think is really the zeitgeist, something that we try to continuously find in our time. Ironically, we did a little short with you last Saturday about the Madoff scandals and a divorce, and the Times today is about a divorce going awry because of the Madoff scandal.
Yeah, of course, they're really rolling everything. 50 billion, Ponzi scheme, all of that.
The zeitgeist.
Yeah. Well, no, Joyce, you can't do better. He's a great reader of the implications of technological development.
Absolutely.
And really something. And Finnegan's Wake is just a whole other piece of literature. It's a fantastic man.
John Bishop was the person I studied under, and who was like the Finnegan Wake's preeminent scholar of the world.
Not really?
Yeah. He showed up at the conference, a Joycean conference, in a coffin. He was carried in to discuss the unconscious and the death implications of Finnegan's Wake.
That. And your family was literary?
Very
literary. Said they were reading. Were they academic, or were they connected?
No, self-made. All self-made.
Autodidactic?
Autodidactic.
I have great respect for the autodidactic consciousness. No, in general, people that can teach themselves, and the world and the technology and the YouTube and the internet and everything is made for an autodidactic person who is self-directed and able to pick up what they're really interested in.
My father fought in World War II, ran away and joined the Australian Navy at the age of 14.
Wow.
And read the dictionary, much like Malcolm X did, on the deck of the ship every night to educate himself. And my mother came out of poverty in the South and became an airline stewardess and a model, and started dating Frank Sinatra when she was 20 years old.
She dated D. Frank Sinatra?
She dated D. Frank Sinatra.
Holy Toledo, that's really top of the mark.
She rose because of her own ability to educate herself through learning, self-education, really mannerisms that she adapted, and good looks, enabled social mobility from both my parents.
Yeah, that's a good
privilege of ability to gather information, and then the talent of really early accessibility to one's own resources based on physicality, and of course the privilege of their skin, which is the nature of
it's pale.
Yeah, well,
pale faces. Yeah, we're all pale faces.
Hopefully that shifts.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it is. It is changing because everything's melding now and everything. The whole beauty charts are going to have to change and everything.
I hope so.
And that I always thought they should have a model of the average Homo sapien male, Homo female, and see what it would be like, because it wouldn't be out on the edges of the different kinds of groups and everything. It would be a sort of blending, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I hope so. I think that's the great American desire. I think it's the fear of all idiot racists everywhere, and it's the great truth of the consciousness itself.
It's a great time to be alive and conscious now, don't you think so?
I absolutely agree. It's an extraordinary place.
Particularly for the autodidact, who's really interested.
It sounds vaguely obscene, but I know.
No, I think it's really great. But you did happen to cotton on to literature and that sort of thing, enjoy.
I was very, very fortunate, to be able to be interested in and be having the accessibility and scholars around me to allow that to blossom.
Yeah, and their subset of friends and all that sort of thing. So you had a privileged upbringing in that sense,
very,
intellectually.
Very lucky.
Yeah,
very, very lucky.
And you're now if I may, you've done some other work, and we have you pegged as not only a prankster, which I think is a noble
Thank
calling.
you very much. Absolutely.
But on the other hand, you're also a professor, so you're doing some teaching at university or college level.
I'm at CUNY, and I'm teaching at college level, and I'm teaching literature, so I'm able to share that love of social critique and social activism with a student body, an eager student body, a multiracial, eager student body.
That's good, and you're also an actress.
I'm also an actress and a writer.
You are an actress extraordinaire.
God bless you.
And I was reading the scripts you and Albert have put together the other night, and it was so clever and so well written.
So
how do y'all are working together with Albert?
We're working together. He's very good at meta picture. And we play dialogue and we push it.
Meta picture.
The meta picture, the big picture of what we're trying to get to. I'm very much a workhorse. I get in there and I do the dialogue, and then we work the dialogue, and we run it. We verbally run it, and then we edit and edit and edit, and we work the jokes.
Okay, you do that. But it was so well written.
Thank you
it was
very
like poetry.
Oh, well,
I mean,
there
was the lines you were doing, and you were coming up with them on the fly, as it were, in the studio when we were producing the other night. I was really impressed. And you did a thing. You got yourself into character.
Right.
And I didn't understand that. I don't understand about how you know what you're going to say and everything. But you got yourself in character. You're sitting on a stool here. It was some woman that is
Amy
a pop...
Winehouse.
Amy Winehouse. And you were going into character, and I thought you were going through a fit. And then you came on, and you were a force of nature. You had her down. I don't suppose it's possible for you to, in a certain sense, do a little of Amy Winehouse now, or is that asking too much or something?
Well, you got to get the arms.
Just to get yourself into it. Now, let's say, who's Amy Winehouse? She's a pop culture in England,
she's a British singer,
and
she's a delightful mess. She's a train wreck, and it's so much fun to watch her.
Yeah, okay. Now,
that's not very nice, but it's true.
Now you have to get yourself into character. The physicality. Okay.
She's got a large nose.
A large nose. Okay.
I have a large nose myself.
You have just a well-honed nose.
Thank you very much. But her nose is very large. It's a very large nose. So you've got to kind of talk to the nose. The nose is prominent in the face. And the arms are very junky arms, so they're kind of dangling. She doesn't really know what to do with them. So it's kind of very on the side.
Yeah.
So she's working class, but she's trying to be a bit posh. So you've got to like extend to both extraordinaire. Now, of course, if the English people would listen to this and be appalled. So,
why?
Because I can't hear the nuances in terms of the accent.
Yeah, right.
So it's a caricature.
It's amazing how different the accents are in that tight little island.
Well, when I think I sound like them, I sound nothing like them, and I offend them tremendously.
No, but you're doing a very good imitation of that.
It's an imitation from an American perception.
Of it. Everybody should understand that.
They would say that was completely off. But it's
okay, but we're not doing this now for the English audience. To hell with them. But we're doing it for the American audience.
The defense.
No, do a little. Can you do it?
I'm doing it. I was it. That's it.
But you don't have your lines, right?
Well, one of the lines. The lines are in the. We were doing a dating show. It was Amy Winehouse was doing casual encounters from Craigslist, and she was one of the contestants. And we had 3 people that were her potential casual encounter. And so it was, she was asking them questions about their sexual orientation. And one of the questions she asked, she said, "If you and I were in a pub, and I want to reach for a bag of chips, and we were on a date, and there was a bloke there reaching for another bag of chips, and we bashed my hand, and then my stash fell on the ground. Would you punch him in the face, or would you stab him with a knife?"
Yeah.
And the poor bachelor said, "What?" And she said, "What? You're a wanker then? What? You want to defend me? Next." So, anyway, there you go.
So you can just fall into character like that. And
well, I'm also, it's not as good as when I had the wig on and when I was,
yeah, it was great.
Character,
and we can't find the tape. We got to look around very carefully because the physical tape is missing. But it was magic.
Thank you.
It was magic that you were doing and everything. And you're obviously such a gifted actress and a comedian. And a comedic touch to the human condition as part of your content.
It's either you're laughing or you're crying, and as a clown, it's kind of both things.
Yeah.
I have to say, the tape that we have of you as a comedic actor is brilliant.
I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I had no idea.
Brilliant.
I had no idea.
It comes off really well.
I'm not so sure I'm anxious, but I'd like to look at
hilarious.
it. Oh, all right. If you say so. Anyway, how long have you been in the theater? And you're also interested in the making of film and theater and comedic stuff. and your just natural being is really impressive.
That's very kind.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I went to Columbia for the film school there. I got my master's at Columbia in filmmaking.
Good for you.
As a director and a writer.
Okay.
So I was, very fortunate to be in the program with some really extraordinary professors, and I got to. James Seamus, particularly, was someone who was a big influence for me, who was my professor there, who's now running numerous companies in producing projects. He's incredible producer. And I was able to do a lot of shorts and take a lot of chances.
Okay.
I short won a Student Academy Award for me in New York State, which was pretty great, and enabled me to raise money for a feature film that I did.
What was the film?
It's called Circus Lives.
Circus Lives, I saw that,
yeah, I didn't know you did it, but it's okay.
No, and you had a thing, what was it? You have a site. You have a brief site.
I did a
one
show.
Called something.
Spawn and Die.
Spawn and Die. Great title.
Thank
you.
I did a show at the Edinburgh Theater Festival.
Yeah, and you sent me a clip of that. Maybe we're going to show a piece of that or something. Did you bring it along or not?
I did. I brought a lot of stuff.
Okay, we're going to have to do this abbreviated. We're going to put a lot of footage in and so forth.
Well, the audience is going to love that. I brought a pilot that I shot and an excerpt from that and some stuff I did for MTV, and then I brought the stuff that we did for you, which with you.
Oh, you did. You want to put that in? Okay, that's good. Because we followed up, and we're going to have to do this abbreviated. We'd like to talk a whole hour. We can't, but we're going to put in some footage. So maybe we could drop that footage in here. We might put it in the end about the thing in Edinburgh. You're of Scottish background or not?
I'm Scottish. I'm Celt. My father is Scottish descent. And when I was in Edinburgh, I have to tell you, I felt completely at home, except for in New York and San Francisco, of course, where my hometown is. But I really felt a genetic, emotional link to these people.
Okay.
I mean, it's absolutely, they're fierce, they're funny, they're proud, they're ridiculous.
Is it true they fought practically naked in the old days of Wallace and so forth? They fought naked and painted themselves blue.
Blue,
yeah.
And then they put lime in their hair, so their hair was white. And the men and the women fought next to each other.
Yeah.
The women are fierce.
And I sent you a return to the email. You sent me that, which I was really enjoying. I watched it late last night and everything, and I sent you a thing back, a link to the program, the book written by Edward Herman. He said how the Scots invented the modern world and everything in it.
That's interesting.
His claim is that modernism, much less postmodernism, was more the result of the Scottish Enlightenment, Hume and all that, than French, and that the major institutions that were set up that we call the modern world, that we may be need to transcend because they're not adequate, the future requires all that kind of stuff, it was really the Scots who set this modern world up.
That's interesting.
And so that means the onus falls upon us Scots, because I'm Scottish from Edinburgh, Lowland, yeah.
I could smell
that. If there's somebody to blame for the modern world, it's us.
Oh, well.
So we're going to be the scapegoat, of who's to blame for this mess that we find around us and everything. Yeah.
Well, I blame the English for everything.
Oh, right. Well, I'm also part English, I have to say.
Well,
but then I've got a third of it is Manx, so that's in between them all in the Irish Sea, is the Isle of Man. So that's my background. Anyway, the Scottish background is really interesting. So, and then you've got this great comedic talent.
Thank you very much.
You really seem to really like comedy, and you're so good at it when you're spontaneous on the camera. Do you have some footage of that kind of thing?
I do. I actually have character work that I did for MTV. I created these little characters and promoted MTV through that.
You were promoting something that MTV was doing, and you were part of a promotion thing?
Yeah, I was on the VMAs, a video, so the big award they do every year, MTV VMAs, and I did.
What's VMA stand for?
Video Awards. The best videos of the year kind of thing.
I see.
And I also I was a little promotion between videos that they would put in little character bits, and they would go into. Well, I'll show you.
Yeah, and you do and you're also a writer. And you write, do you do poetry at all? Is it all prose? Is it all script? And you're a script writer.
I've been writing screenplays mostly, and I've written a novel, which I'm trying to get published now, but I've written screenplays mostly as my line of work.
Yeah, screenplay. There's an Alexandria Fuller's a serious writer, Zimbabwean, and she said everything she writes, and she thinks everything should be cinematographic.
I think that's how we think as modern people.
Yeah, I think so. That's one of the marks of the modern era. We didn't have any of that. We came out of James Joyce or Marshall McLuhan.
It's a very visual. I mean, that's why Ulysses was so potent for me, because it is a visual book. And in many ways, I think it's the first filmic book. I really do.
Okay, that's interesting, because he would be saying that because the Gutenberg Galaxy, the McLuhan wrote, I don't know if you saw it. We used to visit with him each spring back about 1970. He was wired in a very interesting way, really into Joyce, really into technology and the media. He coined the term, the medium is the message. The medium is more important than the message is being conveyed, all that kind of stuff. Major intellectual force. You might want to pick up on him, but he was really into Joyce, and we're coming into an electronic age. So screenwriting, and this Alexandria Filler wrote a book called Scribbling the Cat. It was really good. I couldn't put it down, and it was all cinematographic, because cinematographic is becoming the consciousness of the way we're coming into a multimedia world. YouTube and all this kind of thing is the way. That's a major transformation humanity's going through, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and I don't know if it's. I think it's a good thing. Ultimately, information is a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think it takes it out of the hands of the multi corporations and puts it in the hands, the tools in the hands of the people. I mean, it's very similar to the printing press.
Well, the printing press came earlier. He said that was a major metaphor, the phonetic alphabet for Western civilization, the assembly line, and a lot of other linear thinking. We're now coming all at once in an electronic world, and things are moving very fast. There's a lot of comedic material in the human condition now, don't you think?
Well,
do you see the world from a comedic perspective, like when you watch the news and stuff?
It's very interesting, because I think that I kind of range between both. I have great pathos for the human condition, as well as I think comedy and tragedy are really on the same experience.
Yeah.
They're on the same level.
Right. Okay.
I experience one or the other. I don't experience, oh well. There's in between doesn't happen. It's really upsetting or it's really funny. And generally it's a mixture of both.
Like theater is. You always see the clown and the...
Well, I'm an optimist. I think the Puritans
You are optimist.
Absolutely. The Puritans are, I think we finally, the administration especially, I think we finally have a new shift. I think the Puritans, the death knell of the American Taliban may be ending. And it may be a chance for a new reality in which there isn't this anti-sexuality, this pro-violence that has plagued our culture for so long. Hopefully that shroud of degeneracy, in my opinion, has been lifted.
Well, it's like Mr. Joyce himself had Daedalus say, or had Steve said to David, history is a nightmare from which I'm attempting to awaken.
Absolutely. It's a nightmare.
We may be actually awakening in a long-term sweep of human existence.
I certainly hope so.
From a long nightmare of almost consistent injustice against the weak. And that kind of thing.
Against those that would be exploited.
Yeah, right. So you're an optimist like that.
I'm an optimist. I see change. And when you look at the redwood trees, which is really my touchtouchone from growing up in Northern California.
It just kills me when they
the redwood trees are, there's one tree
4,000 years old.
I mean, when you look from the 50s, from segregation, the tree would have been this big, or this big.
Right.
Our time period is so small in comparison to the social change that has occurred, really, truly, in relationship to how a tree would process the world. So things seem to be getting better faster.
Okay, that's really, getting better faster, but we also have, as apropos of the situation, we also have weapon systems that are now species lethal.
Yes.
Only since about 1970.
Yes, the will to destroy the monkey also is part of the monkey's makeup, the will to self-destruct.
The death wish, in Freudian terms, or something like that, and it's there. And you think we're going to pull off some sort of an equally existentially significant liberating movement in terms of the human society?
I think that
gives you a sense of optimism.
I absolutely believe that.
Where does humor fit in? Do you think humor is? I think humor is extremely important. I don't think I could live if I didn't have a really well-honed sense of humor.
I think that may be the manifestation of evolution is humor. I really do.
Okay, yeah, and that's what you got. You were working on that. You got Crazy Studios. You're working with.
Crazy Studios.
You got some footage you might be able to show from that too.
We got a couple of shorts, absolutely.
Some things from that. What other footage do you have in the? Okay, now stage is one thing. You're also an actress on the stage, that kind of thing. Stage acting and film acting are different things. Screenplay, because it's all going. Once the curtain goes up, you're running. You don't have a chance to do any editing. That sort of. It's a different thing doing a playwright as opposed to doing a screenwriting or something that you're going to edit.
It's all the same stuff.
You do.
I think it's just the flow. Where it comes out is where it comes out, and accessibility is access to audience regardless of the medium is the intention, and trying to get oneself heard and expressed in a way that's accessible.
I notice the youth are all watching. They don't watch the news anymore hardly. The youth, the 20-year-olds, what they watch.
The news is so corrupt. It's so been filtered through so many channels. I would rather they didn't watch the news.
They don't. You know what they do watch is the Comedy Channel. That's what they watch. They watch Daily. They watch the Daily Jon Stewart, and they watch Colbert, and that kind of argue which one is there and that. And then they also, and there was George Carlin just passed. I wept giant tears when George Carlin went. He was a force of nature for sure.
Very important.
Reminded me of Robin Williams. When Robin Williams gets into a head where he's doing it free
magic.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
There's a shamanism involved, and there's an energy that comes, and that is through live performance, which is just unbelievable. I've done stand-up comedy as well, and you know I've done 3 one-person shows. 3 one-person shows.
Just
me up there.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, the extraordinary feeling of energy being connected. It's amazing. I had a band in my early 20s.
Okay.
And it's the same thing. Live music and live theater. There's a charge that is undeniable.
Okay, because you're getting the feedback from the audience.
It's spooky cool.
What if you're doing it in a sound stage? You don't get the same thing.
It's not the same stuff. It's still magical. It's still magical. Wonderful.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Saturday because we had people around the experience. It wasn't just us.
Oh, but if I may, I was watching that whole thing. I was here just helping out and everything like that and everything, and you were doing this thing, and I was thinking always, in my life I don't know, I'm maybe weird or something, but I just find life is like a big sound stage. I mean, I see comedy all the time when I'm walking around in life, you know, that kind of thing. And I thought the thing, watching the way you were all working and all of that kind of thing, I saw it as like a movie, you know.
Well, there is definitely, I'm a big fan of Cassavetes, and he certainly saw that experience as well, that life and art and the intricacies of the creation itself is really the true meta, is the true outside voice, and the inside story is all the same stuff.
And you get it down on tape is one thing, and if it's just lost down the memory hole if we don't get it on tape. So getting it on tape and getting it out and distributing it, YouTube and other kinds of ways for getting instant distribution. It's like MGM distribution that's here now. A lot of things happening technologically with video, and you all are doing a program here on what do you call it? The
Crazy Studios.
Crazy Studios, and you do comedy stuff.
We do comedy.
And you're doing comedy. You do comedy in life.
Comedy in life. Comedy in my classroom. Comedy everywhere.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That'll keep you hopping and everything. And
keeps the serotonin flowing.
Yes, that's what it is. Serotonin is one of those. We didn't know about neurotransmitters until everything is coming to. It's like in a pregnancy, you get to a thing where everything it quickens and everything, and then at one point the water breaks. Do you ever feel like we're at a time when there's going to be a qualitative, that we're privileged to be alive after 200,000 years of Homo sapien existence at a time of qualitative, liberating transformation?
Well, absolutely.
Or is that reaching?
Well, I think that's true. But, you know, having grown up in San Francisco and going to the park, going to the Golden Gate Park and seeing that no one was naked, and that, you know, I missed the revolution. That I feel like the revolution is now. It's inside oneself, as opposed to a mass amount of people that are suddenly naked.